Hello and a very warm welcome to the Transcend and Succeed show. Today I have a special guest who is a dynamic force of inspiration, a true advocate for personal and professional growth. Lori McDowell is the CEO of Reimagine U Strategies, strategic partner with Schooley Mitchell and the Chief Commercial Officer at Refinery Calculator Inc. Lori leads with passion, helping individuals and businesses alike reach new heights, and with a mission to make the world a more joyful place. Lori's journey of reinvention and empowerment is nothing short of extraordinary. So we will be discussing her insights on reinvention, getting unstuck, and the power of choice. So welcome to the show, Lori.
Hi, Dawn. How are you?
I am well. Lovely to see you, sweetheart. Firstly, can you tell us about that pivotal moment in your life when things changed so dramatically for you and made you change your path?
Yes, it was actually a firing where I was fired from a job I had held for over 11 years. And it was quite a shock. It wasn't a very nice firing. I actually was... we had a sales meeting. It was a 2-day meeting, and it was at a town about 4 hours from my house. And I drove to this meeting, and I went to check into my hotel, and they told me my room had been canceled. So at first I figured it was some kind of a mistake. I asked them to reinstate the room, and I had a meeting with my boss that afternoon, and when I showed up for the meeting, he had HR on the phone, and they said, "We're terminating you and we'll pay you till the end of the day. Go home."
Wow.
Yeah, it was quite shocking. So I had a very interesting 4-hour drive home that day.
Yeah, so they didn't tell you before you set off that day for your meeting?
No, I think they wanted to basically make an example of me, embarrass me. They were trying to make a point. The company had changed a little bit. My boss had retired a year ago, and the new boss had some different ideas. And I was giving him some pushback because I didn't like the direction we were going. And they wanted to make an example of me that, you need to follow the rules, or, because I was one of their top employees. I was one of the face of the company at conferences. I was very visible. And people knew I was at the meeting. They saw me at the hotel. So they wanted to kind of make it to a point where, if we can fire Lori, we can fire anybody. So, if you if you give us any trouble, you're gone.
Yeah.
So it was a good thing. It really caused me to think about what I was doing and did I want to get another job? And that's when I realized that I didn't want to work there anywhere. On that way home, I had a breakthrough where I actually thought to myself, I don't have to go to work tomorrow. And when I thought that, it was like, I don't have to work tomorrow. I felt so much better, so much lighter that I just couldn't, had to do something different. And that's when I started looking at, well, what do I want to do next? I have a chance to reinvent myself. Mm-hmm. Let's see what else I want to do.
Yeah, tell us a bit about what was going through your head about reinventing yourself.
At first it was a bit of fear, like the unknown. I don't know what's going to come next. But then it was just opportunity. And, I have the choice to do what I want. This happened about 2 weeks before my 60th birthday. So I was, had been doing this for a while, and it's like, well, I don't know how much time, I'll have left, but it's my choice how I want to spend the rest of it. So it really was kind of a freeing thought, and then I just started thinking about what I wanted to do. And the first thing I thought was, well, I always wanted to write a book, and now I have time, so I will write a book.
Yeah. And that's the reinvention mindset, right? So
The reinvention mindset.
I'm assuming that was just what inspired you to write that.
It was that and a couple other things. Around the time I started writing the book, I really wasn't, I said, I want to write a book. And I started looking in the different options, different editors, different companies to work with. And I met with a friend of mine who had just written a book, and he introduced me to the person he worked with. And around that same time, I went to do a 5K run for a nonprofit, a local nonprofit. And I met a woman who inspired me as well. Her name was Dominique, and she was probably in her mid to late 30s at the time. And she told a story about how a couple years prior she was diagnosed with MS, and she had every symptom that, I think she had 29 out of the 30 symptoms, and she couldn't walk. She was in a wheelchair, and she was suicidal. That she actually had a dream where I guess God came to her in this dream and said, I have a plan for you. And she saw a phoenix bird, and she decided that she wasn't going to accept the disease that she had, that she was going to fight it. And she found she started studying and finding different ways. And now she's basically, her symptoms are gone. I mean, you would never know. And she kind of inspired me as well, which led me, when I was thinking about the book, I started thinking about all the other people I met who had something bad happen to them, and they turned it around and did something amazing. So those were some of the people I interviewed for the book. And I realized that I had some of those experiences during my life as well.
Yeah, and although we might perceive these type of things as something really horrible and really bad that's happening to us, I think if we learn to turn that around and turn it into a lesson, I think then it motivates us and drives us forward. With the courage and the insight, definitely. And not every firing is the worst thing that can happen. I know it's happened to me before, and it was the best thing that could happen, because there's always something better around the corner for you.
Right. There's always an opportunity, and we're probably, if it happened, there's a reason it happened. It's at the time it may have seemed awful, but if you think about it, it was a job that you had either you outgrew the job, or you were ready to do something else. So there's always an opportunity.
Yeah. So, and I know many people can struggle with, making changes in their lives. So what are some common obstacles that you find that hold people back?
One of the biggest is fear. Fear of failure, fear of the unknown, fear of change. And that's fear is probably the biggest thing. But the other is self-doubt, limiting beliefs, just that you don't believe in yourself. And then I guess the other thing is just not knowing how, wondering, how do I make a change? So.
Yeah. I think courage as well, people need to find the courage too. I think that's essential for you to reinvent yourself, so in your opinion, then, how can individuals cultivate the courage needed to take themselves down another path, a new path?
Yeah, I think the thing about courage is you have to realize that one, if you're free, fear is just an illusion. It's not really real. It's just a thought. And when you think about fear being just a thought, and the opposite of that thought is success. And if you focus on that success, you just see that, you can look at what's the worst that could happen, and then you look at what the best that could happen. And you really need, that helps you get the courage, because usually by focusing on what's the best that could happen, it helps you overcome that fear, that thought. Because, most of us right now, our fears are they're in our head. They're not, in the past. I mean, if you're faced with a charging rhinoceros, then the fear may draw you to action. But those fears, they act quick and then they go away. But here today, our fears linger and they don't really draw us to action. They stop us. And you need to basically turn the fear into action. So when you face the fear and you figure out what is the action to overcome the fear, that's when you really get the courage to move beyond it.
Mm-hmm. And fear, all these emotions are meant to be, they're meant to come into our body. We're meant to feel them and acknowledge them and then let them go away. But no, we hold on to that fear and all these negative emotions, don't we? We just bottle it all up and hold it all inside when really we just need to let it go. And just because it's something fearful has happened to us doesn't mean to say we need to carry it on with us. But unfortunately, that's what we've been doing.
Exactly.
And I say that, there is no such thing as fear other than that which we create, because it's not something that we're born with. It's something that we're taught. It's something we learn. And if we can learn something, then we can unlearn it. Yeah. And we just need to learn how to let it go and how we can get that emotion out the body. Yeah. And then the courage will have some space to step in.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Yes. I love you talk about fear being temporary and these negative emotions. Mm-hmm. It's like, I think it's like when you take your hand and you put it on a hot stove, mm-hmm. you feel the heat and you remove it. But with fear, that it's supposed to do that same thing. We're supposed to feel the fear and do something about it. But instead it's like, keeping your hand on that hot stove and just letting it burn away.
That's very true. No, it's true. Yeah. And fear is something we need to change our perception of it. Yeah. It doesn't have to be something that lives with us our entire life. We can leave it behind and move forward without it. Yeah.
Exactly.
So in your experience then, what are the defining characteristics of those who successfully reinvent themselves?
I guess the first thing I would think is that they all realized that they couldn't do it alone. Mm-hmm. So they had, most people had faith, whether it's faith in God or a higher power or the universe. They had some type of a faith, and they had a community or help. They were willing to ask for help. They were willing to accept help. They didn't try to do it alone. And they all said, I could have never done it. If I didn't have my husband, if I didn't have my community, if I didn't have faith, I could never have done it. So that is one big thing. And then the other is a belief. I mean, believing in themselves. They had to they had to know why they wanted to do it, where they wanted to go, and really see the future and believe that it was possible. So that was another big thing.
I think we're all, conditioned in a way to think that, we are not capable of doing certain things. I think that's just the way society has brought us up, our parents as well and our caregivers, unwittingly, of course. But I think, once we can understand that we are conditioned to believe this and to go down a certain route, then I think we can change our perception of it and allow everything to move forward without that fear that's been lingering and tagging on.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So your work spans both business optimization and personal development. So how do these cross over in your approach?
Yeah, I think that they cross over in a lot because really, I mean, the personal development is important even in the business, because sometimes what I find in the business optimization, that often what's stopping the business is from allowing me to help them or allowing the business to change is very similar. The belief that that it's not going to work, the fear of change, the fear of doing something different, and also the fact that they feel like they need to do it all on themselves. They don't want to accept help or accept outside resources. So the same things that will allow you to reinvent yourself are the same type of traits that would allow you to optimize and improve your business: being open to something new, being willing to believe it's possible, accepting help, and willing to do something different, because sometimes we need to be open to change to get the most out of our business. So I think there is a lot of crossover. And then I find that, as I work with business owners on the personal area, if they make changes in themselves, they're much more willing to accept that, they see the possibilities for their business as well.
So how do you coach someone then with, the belief side of things? How do you help them overcome that?
We do a lot of exercises. I often do, different exercises to really show how the mind really does make a difference, how their mindset controls almost everything, and that you see what you look for, and other people see what you portray. So if you really need to put that, you need to look for what you want, and by looking for what you want, you're going to find it and you're going to get it. So that belief, it's just a very it takes a lot of time sometimes, but just doing exercise and examples that show how, if you really focus on it, if you really see it. I mean, we do an exercise where we put your goal and where you want to go in the future, and you visualize it, and you to the point where you're almost feeling it. You're getting very specific. You're looking at, okay, when I hit this goal, I'm going out to this restaurant to celebrate, and I'm going to order this on the menu, and I'm going to have this to drink. And then it becomes real. And when it becomes real in your subconscious mind, you can move it to the conscious. And once you see it as a possibility, it's so much easier to achieve. And I use a lot of examples too. I mean, so many people, the people with the most talent, with the most success, they're not always, or with the most talent and the most natural skills, are not always the most successful. It's the people that believe. And I know in my book, I talk about Ted Lasso and him putting the sign "Believe" up there, because it really does make a huge difference. And I think believe is like your superpower. If you can believe it, you can see it. And if you don't believe it, it's almost 100% chance it's not going to happen.
So how do your clients react then when they suddenly realize that they are responsible for their lives, that they are creating their lives based on what they're thinking about and where they're placing their energy? How do they react to that?
Yeah, I mean, most of them are actually very happy about when it happens, because they realize they have control then, and it's their choice. But I do get some skepticism, especially, in this. I'm a chemical engineer by degree, so I really dealt in science and hard facts. And some people, I do get some skepticism where they don't believe it's, is it really possible, or do I really have this control? And there is some science that I use. I mean, talk about, I get into quantum physics and talk about some of the laws of physics that are really shown to show that, there's a law called, I'm not getting into the details, but there's a law where something can become a wave or a particle depending on the observer. So the observer really is controlling the outcome. And that's a scientific fact. It has nothing, so if science shows it, then you can believe it in your mind. And I think the more they hear it and the more we do the exercises, my clients really start to feel it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find it now, because that was really what my kind of awakening was the sudden realization that I had only been going through these experiences because I had allowed it. Mm-hmm. And therefore, I was, I suppose, dictating my life until I changed my mind and decided that I was worth more than that and put my foot down and made things stop. So it can be a real sudden change for some people. And it can really, set them back for a little while until they actually absorb this and understand it, taking the information and the knowledge before they can actually have the wisdom then to move forward with this. Sometimes is that the time for change that you were talking about?
Yeah, sometimes it definitely takes some time, particularly where people are in different places. I mean, some people are ready. They're so ready that they'll just jump at the opportunity because they want to change. But other people are much more skeptical, or they just need to go a little slower to see how it, to really believe it, to really think they can make a difference. And like I said, there's a lot of self-doubt, limiting beliefs, and just trying to figure out how to overcome these with them is what a lot of the work is spent on.
Yeah, I mean, you can't force somebody to make a change, but sometimes it's more like dropping a seed, planting the seed for them and then allowing them to water it really as and when they see fit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So do you have any success stories then with somebody that you've worked with that you've helped to reinvent themselves?
Yes, I guess I have a couple. I have one woman who her and her husband worked in the real estate business. They had houses, and she was a very kind, loving person. And she felt that, it was her responsibility to help keep the business going, to keep the house going, to raise their son. And she was overworking herself, basically doing everything, and just didn't want to ask for help because she felt by asking for help, it was showing that she couldn't do it or she was weak. Mm-hmm. It was a failure. And she was getting to the point where she was working so hard that when she did have time to spend with her friends or family, she wasn't the person she wanted to be. She was exhausted. She wasn't a nice person. And, rather than spending time enjoying her family, she was yelling at them and arguing. And I worked with her and really got her to realize that she needed to put herself first, that she couldn't help anybody unless she put herself first, and realized that her first responsibility was to herself, and that she could ask for help, that it wasn't her job to make sure the house was perfect and to make sure everything went. And she had sat down with her husband and her son, and they had a good conversation. And she explained to them how, if you want me to be the person that you love, the joyful person, I need help. And they agreed. They said, yeah, well, okay. And they started helping. And now she's just living a much happier life. Their business is going better because they have the energy to focus on it. And it's just been a complete change. She has a better relationship with her husband, a better relationship with her family, and the business is succeeding. And she has time. She knows that if she needs to take time for herself, she can do that. And there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. And I think it's very important. I think things start to change really when, you actually perceive yourself to be someone of importance, before anyone else, because you've got to fill your own tank first, haven't you? And I don't think that asking for help is a weakness. I think it's actually a great sign of strength. Oh my goodness, yeah. And you benefit from that other person's experience, from their knowledge and understanding, and from their wisdom as well. So it can actually help propel you forward in your life path.
And it's a good thing for them too, because we all love to give. And if you're refusing help, you're actually taking away that person's chance to give. So you're basically let them give you, because it makes them feel good. So give them that pleasure too.
Yeah. Okay. I think this is probably a good time to take a quick break. But stick around, because after the break, Laura is going to tell us her fun fact. So stay with us. We'll be right back. and welcome back to the Transcend and Succeed show. And I'm here with the lovely Lori McDowell today. And before we had the commercial break, I had said that Lori's going to tell us her fun fact. So Lori, tell us what it is.
Sure. My fun fact is that I am a scuba instructor. I haven't been teaching in a while since my son was born, and he's 20 now, but I used to teach scuba diving, and I used to teach in the Atlantic Ocean and down in Florida and all over the Caribbean. And it's something I think I'd like to get back to soon. So I love being underwater. It's just an amazing experience. And
scuba diving is something my husband wants to do. He says, "No, one day we'll need to go scuba diving," and I'm like, I quite like being on the surface.
I think it's amazing. It just puts you in a completely different world, and the things I've seen are just beautiful and otherworldly in some ways. So it's almost like a foreign planet, or
Yeah, I think it would be very beautiful. I must admit. Okay, so we are talking about reinventing yourself. So as Chief Commercial Officer at Refinery, how do you apply the principles of reinvention to drive the business growth?
Yeah, that's a good question, because in that business we're trying to grow a new startup type business, and I think what it has, a lot of the same processes, the belief that it's possible, the asking for help, the seeing where you want it to go in the future are really important in helping that grow. So I applied some of those things, and just kind of the creativity by just the idea that anything's possible and looking for creative ways to do things. So we have team meetings where we think about, okay, we need to find new customers. Where should we look, and come up with some creative ideas or ways to market the business. But I think anything, the more you learn about yourself, it can really be applied to any business, because it's all about action that gets results, and being willing to take, the right risk, because if you believe you're in the right place, you know that everything you do is going to end up okay, and that, there is no failure. There's a lesson or there's a success. And sometimes the lesson is more valuable than the success. So seeing the business like that, we can try things, and if they don't work, and rather than think, oh, it didn't work, we look at it and say, well, what do we learn from this, and how do we apply that to the future?
And isn't brainstorming a wonderful thing? I used to love that.
It is.
When I was, in business meetings, it was great. And, the concept of synergy, the input of one plus the input of one equals the output of three. You really do. You can get really deep into certain things and come up with a lot more than you probably could on your own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I heard someone say recently that, every idea, no matter how, crazy it sounds, but that every idea has at least 10% of value in it. Mm-hmm. So if you look, if you hear something outside the box or really crazy, or just that doesn't seem like it's going to work, look for that. If you focus on looking for that 10%, that's good. You can get something positive from everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and everything that comes up in your mind, every little thought needs to go down on paper and at least discussed, because you never know. You could have just thought a multi-million-dollar idea.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how do you balance the practical aspects of business optimization with the more personal aspects of self-improvement?
It's almost not, for me, it's been a lot more almost compartmentalizing than balancing. I mean, I usually, I'll do things that I need to do, if there's something urgent, but it's more like I set my time, like, okay, this week we're going to focus on the coaching business and really and then next week I'll focus more. So I kind of compartmentalize as much as I can, other than the things that have to be done every day. Clearly some things for both businesses have to be done all the time, but I try to, if I'm doing a lot of real, mindset work and coaching work and personal development, I try not to interrupt that by calling on business customers in the middle of it. So I kind of try to do it in blocks. So where I focus on this for one block, and then I may focus on the other for a block. It seems to work well for me.
Good. So do you find then that helping somebody with themselves actually helps them in a work capacity?
It usually does, and it's amazing when you work on yourself and when you improve yourself. It helps your business, and it also makes you more willing to make changes in your business. But it also helps like the people around you. I mean, if you make an improvement to yourself and you're in conflict, you had been in conflict with someone, often by only changing yourself, not doing anything regarding that other person, the conflict goes away.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you were struggling with an aspect of your business, by working on personal growth, that aspect that needs help, just suddenly you have a clear idea of what to do. So I do think starting with yourself will help everything, every aspect of your life.
Yeah, I think it's the only way to start, really, because we create our outer world, right? But we create it from in here. So if we don't go within to change it, we'll not see any changes in our outer world.
Right. Yes. So, and even if you say, you may have financial success in a business, but if you don't start with yourself, you don't really enjoy it as much. It's not really, it may be success on paper, but it's not true fulfillment. You really need to get that from within, from inside your heart and inside your head. And truly, the inner self has to be happy before you can be happy in any other aspect of your life.
Yeah, and that's something I think it's not wildly taught or widely taught
No.
people. It's always, push, push, push for the materialistic things that are on the outside that really we can't control too much of. We can only control what comes from within us.
Right. Yeah. And that's when you hear about these people who, you look at them and they had everything. They had unlimited money. They had unlimited fame. They had friends, and yet they commit suicide or they turn to drugs. And you wonder, like, why they had everything? But it's because they had everything on the outside, but they didn't work on the inside enough.
Yeah, and money's not everything, is it?
No.
And, material items can help you feel good, a brand new car or, a new house, going on vacations, that can help you just temporarily, but it's never going to be anything long lasting.
No.
Change has got to come. Your soul, on your soul level, that's where the fulfillment's got to be. That's where the self-love has to be. And then your outer world will start to create
Right.
and portray back to you what you're vibrating from the inside. Yeah, so it's all from within. Yeah, I love that. So what strategies do you employ then to help businesses reduce expenses? So we'll go financial for a little bit, but reduce
Right.
expenses and optimize operations.
Yeah, with that business that I own, the Schooley Mitchell business, that's actually a franchise. So we have a team of experts in the different expenses. And what they do is they use knowledge. They really know the different areas because whereas, if you're a business owner and you have, say, a telephone or waste or shipping, that's not your area of expertise. So you have a little bit of knowledge. You kind of know a few vendors, but we have people who work for us who, a group of people who their only thing they focus on is telecommunications, or their only area of expertise is waste. And we use that to help our customers improve their business. So because we have this knowledge and we also have a buying power, because thousands and thousands single customer or somebody with 3 or 4 locations couldn't necessarily get. So it's a combination of the expertise and the buying power, and then using that to help our, small to medium sized companies save their money. So we take that power of, a bigger company and apply it to the smaller and medium sized companies.
You're leveraging your knowledge and your position. Yeah.
Yes.
So what advice do you have then for aspiring entrepreneurs looking to start their own business or their own venture?
I would say, before jumping out on your business, really get to know yourself, look at your whys, look at your goals, look at what you're looking for, and answer those questions, so those questions and you have those answers about yourself in place while you're looking your business. But then I would say, if it's something you want to do it. Take that risk, take that jump. It'll be worth it. But just realize, you may, even if you struggle, you're going to learn from it. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't reinvent the wheel. There's so many, when you start your own business, what I found, which was very surprising, is, between online groups and local groups and networking groups, there are so many people that are willing to share their knowledge, share their experiences, and help you. And don't be afraid to look for that. It'll make starting a business much less lonely. It'll give you, a group of, you may not have employees, but now you have people who are kind of like your coworkers that you can work with. And don't try to do it alone, but definitely if it's something you want to do, once you've done enough exploration to know, what would make you happy, what kind of business you want, I would say just do it, because it really is an amazing experience. If it's something you want to do, having that choice, being on your own, where the business is yours, where you can direct where it goes, is just really incredibly fulfilling.
Mm-hmm. I mean, something that you want to do, we could elaborate a little bit on that, something that you could do every day that doesn't feel like it's a chore. Because I think most of us, when we are in employment, when we are in a work for somebody else position, I think we find it over time, especially, that it becomes a lot, just like chores, and then you start to not enjoy it as much. But actually finding a job that makes you happy and doesn't feel like it's a chore is probably more likely going to succeed than just pushing yourself to do better at your current position.
Yes, I think it will. And it's a completely different mindset, because suddenly you're doing what you want to do. You're making a difference because you want to make that difference. And I used to hate getting up in the morning. When I worked in corporate America, I had my snooze alarm, and I usually pushed it, a couple times. And now I hardly ever set an alarm, because I just wake up, and I wake up and I'm excited to get to work. And I have to consciously sometimes tell myself, okay, you've been working all day, stop, go spend time with your family, go cook dinner, go do your laundry, because I just enjoy it so much.
Yeah, it's nice, getting up in the morning and saying, okay, I have got 3 people that I can help today. It's a really lovely, lovely feeling. Yeah. And being able to pick back at 3:30 in the afternoon because you've not got another appointment is absolutely great. To step back a little bit, take a little bit of time for yourself.
Yes.
Best part of being self-employed.
Yes, I remember the first time I went grocery shopping, at like 2 p.m. one day, and I almost felt guilty, thinking and I was like, wait a minute, that's my business. I can go grocery shopping whenever I feel like.
Right. I know, but yeah, I think to start with, once you move from that corporate job to being self-employed, and you do that sort of thing, you kind of have that pang of guilt. Oh, I should be working. I should be doing this. And you're like, no, this is my job. I can do whatever. Because I've been exactly the same, thinking I've not got something in the fridge I needed for dinner. And I thought, oh, I could just run along to the store and get it. Why, yes, I could. And nobody is there to say, where do you think you're going? Isn't it a lovely feeling?
It is.
Okay, so with your background in technical sales and marketing, and I know you did a bit of research and development as well, so how do you approach problem solving in your work? Somebody comes to you with a problem, take us through the actions and your thought processes.
Yeah, I guess one of the things I do, because I have had a lot of worked in different areas and had different types of experience, I often do think about, okay, where did I see this before? Where, is there something I could use from the past? So that's something I definitely, since I have, worked with lots of different people in lots of different areas, I kind of look at those stories and those examples from the past. But I think just like I did, in research and development, you try to get to the root cause, to the base, look at what's causing the problem, look at where you want to go. Mm-hmm. Very similar in marketing, you look at, where you need to go, where you're coming from. And I do the same thing in problem solving, really getting into understanding, okay, this is the problem, but this is the presenting problem. But what's the root cause? Where, going back, okay, why is that a problem? Where did that come from? And taking it back, because you really need to solve the root cause, not just the symptom. And chances are the problem, and that's what we did in engineering. That's what we did when I worked in plants. And I think in life and in problems with a business or in the coaching area, trying to find what that root cause is and tackling the problem from that basis will really help make a change that will change the outcome, but also help it be a lasting change. Where if you just fix the problem without knowing what causing it, the problem will probably come back.
It's going to keep happening, isn't it? Yeah, yeah, definitely important. Get to the root cause of it instead of putting a band-aid on the symptoms. Yeah, I like that. Now, Lori, your personal motto is life is meant to be lived one crazy adventure at a time. So tell us how you came about that.
Yeah, I guess I came up with it. It came from a tragic event, but it really showed me that life is short. When I was in high school, I was a senior in high school. My sister was in 8th grade, and my little sister was hit by a car, and she almost died. She was in a coma for about 6 months. She eventually came out of the coma, but she still has some brain damage and some physical damage. So she's never been the same. But I think at that point, not immediately, but when I saw what happened to my sister, I just realized that, we have today and we never know what's going to happen. I mean, no one expected that. She thought she had the rest of her life. And it made me realize that, never, if there's something you want to do, don't put it off. And then as I lived my life, I got busy and I would forget that at times. But now that I'm, older, the older I get, and now that I'm really embraced my own business, I realize that it needs to be something I focus on every day, because every connection, every person I meet is an amazing connection, someone that could change my life. Everything I do could have incredible consequences, and every experience has something in it that is just spectacular, that is a crazy adventure. So I've started to live by the fact that, we never know when we're going to die. So we may as well live like it's, take every adventure and live it one crazy adventure at a time. I mean, I think I came up with the exact words when I had done a nonprofit that I support called the Women's Home, had a fundraiser that was, if you raise, so much money, you got to, someone people say you had to. I thought of it, you got to rappel off the side of a 30-story hotel. And I was just like, oh, I'm going to do that. And someone said to me, you're crazy. That's when I said, well, life is meant to be lived one crazy adventure at a time. And it was just an incredible experience. And I got to raise a lot of money for this nonprofit, and I'll probably do it again. But
there you go. I think we're all too busy doing things, aren't we? Doing things to, for our work, or, not particularly to fulfill ourselves, but we're too busy doing to actually just allow ourselves to be, because we're beings, we're not doings.
Right.
We are actually human beings, not human doings. But that's what we're doing, isn't it? We're constantly doing stuff and doing more stuff and doing a lot more stuff. We just don't sit back and take some time for us and just sit in that present moment, right? Because I love what you were saying there. There is no time like the present. There is no time at all other than the present. The past's been and gone. The future's not here yet, right? So the only time we've got is right now. So why not live that to our very best, our very best moments? Yeah.
Yeah, so many people think about, like, oh, I'll do it when I get there. And it's like, no, you're never going to get there. If you wait, you're never going to get there. If you have something you want to do, you need to do it today. And that's one thing. When I started my own business, I never, I had done an occasional meditation or mindfulness practice. But since I started my own business, that's a priority. I do that every day. I take some quiet time and I do some type of meditation or breath work or mindfulness. And it connects me to the world. It connects me to myself. And it's so important. And it's just enabled me to experience so much more. It's something I would recommend everyone do if you haven't done that. I mean, we do that in our coaching program, but even if you're working in corporate America, take 10 minutes a day and spend it just being, just thinking, just being.
Yes, just being you. Yeah,
just sitting and letting the world
on your breath,
help you around you.
Let it go. Yeah. Absolutely. Don't sit and scroll mindlessly on your phone like I caught myself doing last night, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
sort of been trying so hard to get away from these things, and it just grips you, doesn't it? So, but I'm consciously aware of what's happening. Yeah. So trying to get myself back out of it. But it takes time and it takes a lot of perseverance, doesn't it, to make these
Yeah.
changes. But it is absolutely possible if you're determined enough and you're ready to change, you're ready to reinvent yourself, as you say. You can absolutely do it. And you have to believe in yourself that you have the capacity and the capability of actually doing it before you can actually do it.
Yeah, yeah, you have to make that choice, and it's not just a one time, you have to make that choice every single day and continue to make that choice. I'm going to do this. I believe it. I want it to happen. And if you keep choosing it, it will happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got another couple of questions for you. So I know you're a bit of a sports enthusiast. So how do you incorporate the lessons learned from sports into your professional life?
Yeah, I think the biggest lesson learned from sports is the power of belief. And, I do love sports, and I found out that the people who are the most successful athletes are not necessarily the ones with the most skills, but they're ones with the biggest heart, the biggest belief. They just knew it was possible. I tell this story in my book, but I listen to a sports radio station show sometimes, but they interview professional athletes, and they'll give them a list. Like if his name is John, they'll say, okay, rank these Johns, John Wayne, John Lennon, John, they'll list a bunch of famous Johns, and then they'll list them and they'll say, rank them in order. And the athlete, 100% of the time, every single one of them always put themselves first. No matter who they were being compared to, they always put themselves first. And I just that's why they're professional athletes, because if they didn't have that belief in themselves,
Yeah.
they could never do the training. They could never deal with the life. They could never do it. But by believing in themselves, it became possible, and it became something that they could achieve. And so, and I learned, I tell a lot of stories in the book from sports, from my son's baseball team when he was 9, and how they believed in themselves. And just, I think the power of belief is something that you can really learn from athletes and from sports, because I know I've been in places where I've been playing a sport or doing something, and a doubt popped into my head. And in that second, I lost the race or I didn't win the game. And it was because of that doubt. And I could see it happening. I just couldn't stop it.
Yeah, the power of belief is very, very powerful. I mean, it can either propel you or it can keep you completely stuck. And the choice is yours. The choice is ours for how we believe to perceive ourselves. But I really liked what you were saying about, these athletes putting themselves first. We need to bottle their belief in themselves and actually feed it to everyone else on the
Yeah,
planet. And then I honestly think it would be such a different place, wouldn't it?
it would be world changing, because if you felt that way about yourself, then, if you loved yourself that much, then you would have no problem loving everybody else. And there wouldn't be hate and mistrust and everything, because if love is the biggest, love is the only true emotion, and it starts with you. So if people could love themselves, if the whole world loved themselves, we'd have no need to fight or for violence or everything else, because it would just be, it just wouldn't be there.
Yeah, there wouldn't be any fighting, there wouldn't be any hatred, any rage, any jealousy, nothing at all, because we wouldn't see everybody else as a competitor to us. We wouldn't feel threatened by them. And everything is a choice. The way we feel is a choice, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, every multiple times in a day. And for the choices that we don't make consciously, our lovely subconscious makes the choice for
Yeah.
us
Yeah.
unwittingly. We know
Yeah.
nothing about it. It just drives our life. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you don't want to leave your choices to your subconscious, because the subconscious, the subconscious is just trying to keep you alive.
Yeah.
But that's not, sometimes that's not necessarily the best choice.
That's very true. That is true. Okay, I'm going to pop this QR code up on the screen if you would like to tell us, because I know you have an offer for the audience.
Yes, what I have here, I actually call it Reinvention Mindset, and it's a free bingo card. And if you download the card, and you will get a PDF of a bingo card. And when you sign up, I will actually invite you to a master class. I have them twice a month it's about the reinvention mindset, and it's about the 3 steps that you need to reinvent yourself, which are discover, conquer, and breakthrough. So I hold basically 1-hour classes twice a month. So when you download it, you'll get the bingo card, and all the items on the bingo card are things that are going to, if you do them, they're going to improve your life. So play bingo, try to get a full card. And then once you sign up, you'll get an invitation to attend one of the master classes.
Nice. That's a great offer. Thank you for sharing that. So we've only got a few minutes left. So what's the plan for 2024 for you, for your reinvention? Have you got any projects coming up? Anything that you can tell us about?
Yes. Well, I mean, the book, the Reinvention Mindset book, will be out in May. So I'm going to try to do some, book tours, some book signings, take it to some places, get it on Amazon. So I'm excited about that. Mm-hmm. And then, we talked a little bit about my scuba diving experience. And one of the things that I want to plan, hopefully I'll be able to launch it in late 2024, it may end up in 2025, but I am going to do kind of mindset scuba diving retreats. And I'm going to try to do, it'll probably be I'm thinking about a 5-day event somewhere. I don't know where, maybe in the Caribbean to start, but somewhere where you can easily scuba dive and where it's great for beginners. And it's going to be a combination of coaching, mindset work, maybe, some yoga or meditation, but also scuba, where if you're a certified diver, you can dive, but if you're not a certified diver, I can lead you on dives, and really, when you're underwater, your mindset is completely different. Like I said, it's like being on another planet. And I think learning, having that experience of getting the mindset of being underwater in an alien environment and then taking those learnings into the coaching is something that people are really going to enjoy. So I'm hoping to set those up. Like I said, I'm working out the details. It'll either be late 2024 or maybe early next year.
That sounds wonderful. It really
I'm really
does.
excited about it. So I think it'll be a lot of fun.
I think the Caribbean somewhere would be just fabulous. I think that would be absolutely great. So I need you to tell me when that's all sorted. Okay. And I want you to give me the details, and I'll send it out to my viewers and my email list, because I would like people to consider that. I think that would be really good fun. Okay. I know my husband would like that, actually.
Yes, your husband would come. Yeah. And we'll have snorkeling for those who don't want to try scuba, but I'm hoping to have it. There's a couple of places I have an idea where you can scuba right from the beach, and where it's very gentle, and it's something that, even if you're not comfortable in the water, I think we could make it a very pleasant experience.
I am more used to a swimming pool. I used to swim a lot when I was at school. I swam for the team, as I swam a couple of times for Scotland as well. And I always think that when I look at the ocean, that's a wee bit big for me. I prefer to be a little bit more contained in the safety of my pool. But, I might just pull myself together and venture, because you want to live life one crazy day at a time, don't you?
That's right, yes.
Absolutely. Well, Lori, I have had a wonderful conversation. It's been lovely chatting to you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Dawn. It's been very great conversation talking with you as well.
Thank you. And thank you to the viewers. And until next time, just take care of yourself and put yourself first. And we will see you next time. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.